this Tuesday, January 8th, 2019 meeting of Middletown City Council to order, and I realized I did that without Amy being here. Where'd you head off to? You hide around the corner? All right. That's all right. Well, we'll just stand for a moment of meditation and pledge allegiance to the flag. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry about that. My left, but my right. All right, Ms. Skank, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Vittori. Here. Mr. Bohannon.
Here.
Mr. Moon.
Here.
Mr. Mulligan.
Here.
Mayor Mulligan.
Here. All right, first order of business for our business meeting is city manager reports. Mr. Atkins.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. Welcome to 2019. Happy New Year. I hope everybody had a nice holiday. I'm not going to take too much time tonight because we have other things on the agenda. But I did want to, late Friday afternoon, I got the brand new Dora Cup, which is going out downtown, which means if you're drinking beer downtown this year, it's going to look like this. So I'll pass that down so they can take a look at it. We'll have wristbands and other rules coming into play. But we're up and running and official with a nice cup. And with that, I will yield the rest of my time to the Community Building Institute and let them give their presentation.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Hope you all are having a good day and good evening so far. Most of you know me. My name is Dan Allnut. I am the president of the board of the Community Building Institute here in Middletown. It's really been a privilege to serve as a board member for the past 3 years. I remember when I first got an email from Doug 3 years ago about an opportunity to be a part of an organization that was an up-and-coming organization doing positive things for our community in the city of Middletown. I was flattered when Karen Maney, our executive director, came to see me and speak to me about becoming more involved and joining the board. And I have to admit that at first I really never had heard of CBI. Honestly, we still joke about the fact that it's kind of the best kept secret in Middletown. But over the past few years, I've come to know CBI as perhaps the most future-focused and people-centric nonprofit in this city. Recently, I've heard another of our board members and one of your fellow council members, Amy Vittori, refer to our organization as transformational, and that truly is what we are about. Middletown has a number of amazing groups and organizations working tirelessly to take this city to the next level. However, I think you'd be hard-pressed to find another organization that deploys resources directly to the people of Middletown as CBI does. As you know, we've been blessed with the mission to be stewards of the Robert Sonny Hill Jr. Community Center. And I want to thank you on behalf of the board and on behalf of CBI for giving us that opportunity. The community center is truly our base of operations. It's a place where we can help to meet the basic needs of the children in our city, and it must be at the forefront of our mission. However, I'm even more encouraged with the global approach that CBI has taken over the past few years. A little-known fact is that our institute is a multifaceted one. Perhaps two of the most exciting corners of the community center to me are the new employment center space and our parent resource center. Both of these programs are designed not only to provide for Middletown families in need, but most importantly, to help give them the tools to help themselves. This is truly a unique aspect of our organization that sets us apart in the city. And it's indeed what transformational is all about. Our organization directly employs resources to give people tools to improve their own lives and to be productive citizens in our city. I don't know of a more important mission to have. Once again, I want to thank you for your past financial and moral support in that endeavor. And as our logo says, our mission is to be champions of Middletown's families and futures. And that is what we attempt to do in this city. Now at this time, I'm excited to invite our Executive Director, Karen Maney. She is in fact a true champion of Middletown, and she's going to share more with you about what we're doing in the city of Middletown.
Okay, thank you. Good evening.
Thanks for allowing us to come and share about what we do, and I think I'm going to learn how to work this. So just a brief history, a lot of you already know it, but I just want to do a brief recap, is that the Robert Sunny Hill Community Center has a rich history and it is an incredible asset to our community, especially to the Middletown South End residents. It was the location of CBI's first initiative, which is the Parent Resource Center, which is an early education initiative. And in 2013, CBI invested over $18,000 in renovations to the annex of the Community Center for the Parent Resource Center. In summer of 2013, CBI became aware that the city was considering closing the center after the center director resigned. Some of the dates on here, please note that they were a little bit off, so I had to readjust them. But November of 2013, CBI and the city entered into a 5-year contract for $100,000, a $40,000 reduction in the city's budget, saving the city $200,000 over a 5-year period. In January 2014, we took over operations and programs, including all of the after-school programming. Since 2013, CBI has invested approximately $50,000 in renovations, upgrades, and repairs, and increased utilization of the building to be a resource to the community for quality programming for the entire family. I want to share with you a few of our program highlights, and I have given you an annual report that you'll be able to see more information. I'm just going to give you some really brief highlights. Our Parent Resource Center, which is our early education, helping kids to be ready for kindergarten. Since 2014, we've connected 465 kids to early education programs, including Butler County Educational Service Center, which is here supporting us tonight. We've added in an early Head Start program into the community center. Our out-of-school time programs, including our after-school and summer camps, that happen not only at the center but also in the schools. From 2014 to 2017, we've had an average of 139 students per year enrolled at Rosa Parks, Creekview, and Wildwood Elementaries. In 2018, we lost a significant amount of funding from Ohio Department of Education, but we were committed to continue programming, and we have 111 students enrolled at Rosa Parks, Amanda, and Wildwood Elementary. Middletown High School, the Future Center, we've been operating there for the last 4 years, but in 2017-18 school year, we had 1,679 students active in the Future Center activities, which include one-to-one mentoring, post-graduation planning assistance with juniors and seniors. And then in 2018 of October, we opened an after-school program at the high school as well, focused on credit recovery and career exploration. So let's talk a little bit about Robert Sunny Hill by the numbers. In 2017, we served an average of 326 individuals per month. In 2018, we served 518 individuals per month. Total visits to the community center for CBI programming is 7,589. 86% of our participation in the center is below family poverty level. We had an average attendance of 30 students, ages 5 through 14, and we served them a total of 1,931 free hot meals. Looking towards our future, we do have an employment center open. Starting from 9 to 2, we have an on-site job coach that's available that is through a partnership with Butler County Jobs and Family Services. We also, starting in the next couple of months, Jobs and Family Service will have representation on-site at our center that can serve residents to actually enroll them in benefits, as well as help them case manage when they get jobs and help them to identify that cliff that they might be hitting soon. Year-round sports leagues are what we are shooting for, but air conditioning is needed in the upstairs gym. It's only operational 9 months out of the year. Those other 3 months, you don't want to go up there. I'd like to just talk a little bit about our financials. Our daytime programming, which is our 9 to 5 operations, which handles all of our Parent Resource Center, handles GED, high school, which is our high school education program, English as a second language, our employment center, and just being open to the public for any other services. Our budget is $253,000. Our expenses are the same. Primarily, much of that is staffing costs because typical nonprofit, any type of services are human-led. So then our evening program, it is funded by our Community Development Block Grant for $70,700, and that is what we have budgeted our expenses at. As you can see, our total 2018-19 budget for the community center's daytime programs operations are $253,000. CBI provides additional funding that provides 60% of those costs. The Community Development Block Grant funds 100% of our operations for our evening program, which serves our local youth and adults after 5. The city has advised CBI that there will be very little, if no possibility, of receiving the Community Development Block Grants for the 2019-2020 year due to redirection of those funds towards other essential needs, such as street paving. Should those dollars go away, CBI will be unable to sustain operations in the evening after 5 p.m., which is the prime time for youth to come and get a hot meal and to hang because they view it as a safe place. In addition, Doug has communicated a desire by the City Council to reduce the $100,000 yearly operational cost over a period of this new contract until CBI funds the center and its operations 100%. As you can see, 86% of the population that utilizes the center is low to very low income. We're researching ways to increase the utilization of the center by residents who can pay for our programs. We believe the investment of adding an air conditioning to the gym will allow CBI to offer year-round sports leagues that could bring in additional sustainability. We are also increasing and have increased our community awareness through marketing, and we have a fundraiser coming up in March of this year, and you have the save the date for that. But without the support of the city, I believe I believe that the support of the city will remain crucial to keeping operations of the center available to the public. Please know that CBI is incredibly thankful for the support of the city, and we hope that the city sees the value that CBI programs bring to the community and the center brings to the community, and we hope that you would continue to provide that financial support. Again, I thank you for your time, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions for Ms. Maney? Certainly appreciate the great work you're doing there at CBI. It's always buzz hive of activity. When I get down there, a real beehive of good things going on down there. So appreciate your great work. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, I have a few citizen comment cards this evening. First card I have this evening is from Mike Ewell. Mr. Ewell, there you are. Good evening. If we get your name and address for the record, please.
Michael Ewell, 1 Medical Center Drive. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
It's becoming very familiar standing here at this podium. As I have known many of you, I am Mike Ewell. I have transitioned my role as president of Atrium Medical Center, as many of you are aware, but I stand before you tonight as the former president of Atrium Medical Center, and on behalf of Premier Health as one of the Premier Health executives. I'm joined by my successor tonight, Dr. Keith Bricking, who you will be hearing comments from as well, and so I look forward to you getting an opportunity to meet with Keith. So tonight's a little bittersweet for me. I was just sitting there thinking this could be the last time I'm at this podium, But you never know. So again, I just wanted to reiterate a few points. I know we've had an opportunity to meet with you multiple times. I've stood before you on numerous occasions, and I just wanted to kind of restate a few things. Again, I just wanted to make it very clear to the council tonight as you vote on this difficult decision that early on when this was happening, we welcome competition. We're not afraid of competition. In fact, I've often used the phrase, if you draw a 6-mile radius around Atrium Medical Center and you look at all the healthcare facilities and things coming up and down 75, we're in a very competitive market in this area. So we welcome competition. What we did oppose was the addition of inpatient beds because we continue to see it as an unnecessary duplication of healthcare resources, especially when the healthcare industry today is going through more consolidation. On average, we're seeing more than 30 hospitals a year close, and a lot of that is because the demand for inpatient capacity is just not there as we move forward. And good thing they had the cap on. And we're transitioning to more of an outpatient model. That's just where we're heading. We want to make sure that we're helping and doing our part to lower the cost of health care for individuals, not increasing it. And more importantly, we really felt that we were at a pivotal point with the city that we should be focusing on the master plan, getting that master plan done, really understanding what we want on the east side development of 75. And so we're all working together. I've often suggested that we could hit pause on this, have our colleagues at Kettering at the table. Let's get the master plan complete in the summer of this year. So we're all working towards a common goal. We stand behind our comments because of that we don't really feel that the request meets the zoning criteria set forth by the city as alluded to the master plan. And again, we have the master plan in process. As we've discussed with several of you, again, we respect your difficult decision. I know that you have heard both sides, you have had individual meetings, and we really appreciate, and I'm sure our colleagues at Kettering do too, all the time that you've put into understanding the business case for each party behind this. Believe it or not, even though we have our business needs and we're competitors, we do work well together on some things. Both Terry Burns and I share on the executive committee of the Greater Dayton Area Hospital Association, so we work on things around the community health plan, community needs assessment, et cetera. So we may not always look like good partners here, but our objectives are the same. We're here to build healthier communities and increase the wellness of those that we serve. So again, we welcome the competition. We just want to make sure we're making the right strategic decisions that may have a longer term impact on the city of Middletown. That's why that master planning component is so very important. But as we move forward, understanding what your decision may or may not be tonight, we'll adjust our strategies accordingly. And I think that some things that have come into recent discussion because we've been getting requests are, well, what's Premier going to do with the 86 acres? What's Premier going to do in terms of our campus development plan? Those are things that we're already having discussions on. I would like to reiterate the purpose and original intent of our 86 acres was to increase visibility for the hospital from the 75 corridor. When you're competing against a hospital versus an outpatient facility, the business strategies change a little bit. And in our discussions at a premier level and a board level, visibility becomes really important to us now. And so we take that into consideration as we move forward because we've had the assessment done this year. We've had some additional businesses reach out about some interest in that land. From our perspective, the visibility piece has become really key. And in terms of our campus development, as we look forward, we just want to really, again, gets back to tying it to the master plan. What does the vision look like for the East End development? So we fully understand that. Our fear moving forward is, as we develop our competitive strategies, is being too quick to make decisions that may have a longer term effect, because what our interests become is make sure that we maintain the financial viability for the patients, our employees, and the physicians that we serve. So we have to counter those strategies. And I think that's where we're going to need the city's support as we move forward, because our strategies will change. They will be different. Our business needs will be different in how we move forward, again, protecting that viability. We appreciate the partnership of the city. Again, appreciate all your support. And we'll look forward to that support as we help craft our strategic direction as we go forward. So again, I understand the difficult decision before you tonight, as it will impact your second largest employer, but you guys have put a lot of time in, we respect that. Just in a final note in my transition, on a more personal note, I really appreciate the partnership over the last several years. getting to know and work with you on several initiatives. So even though I'll be transitioning north, I will still be a member of Premier Health, and I look forward to seeing you guys at various events. So thank you for your time tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right, next card I have this evening is from Mr. Keith Bricking, or Dr. Bricking. Good evening. If we get your name and address for the record, please.
Keith Bricking. My address is 1 Medical Center Drive, Middletown.
Evening.
So thank you for allowing me to speak this evening. Since Mike, I think, hit most of my talking points, I'll try not to repeat many of them. But as an introduction to myself, I'm an emergency medicine physician. I've been working for Premier for about 13 years. I'm the first physician to take over as president of one of the Premier hospitals. And I'm looking forward to partnering with everyone here. While I am new to the position, I have been, as a partner at Premier Health, I am no stranger to the competition with Kettering Health that we have in the marketplace. I'm very familiar with what's transpired over the last couple years as the request for inpatient beds in Middletown have come up. Again, to reiterate what Mike had mentioned, we welcome competition. There's a lot of competitors in town. We look forward to putting our service and our quality metrics up against any other hospital in the area, and that's something that we will continue to enhance and excel at. However, obviously this is a very difficult decision for everyone, and we just want to make sure that the members of the Middletown really understand the impact to the business community, as well as the business case behind this decision. Please allow us please also know that allowing Kettering these inpatient beds will lead to, as Mike mentioned, strategic repositioning of initiatives in our market, and we ask that you consider that deeply as we move forward in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming down this evening. Next card I have this evening is from Mr. Daniel Tryon. Mr. Tryon. Good evening. If we get your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. Daniel Tryon, 6147 State Route 122 here in Middletown.
Good evening.
So thank you for your time this evening. My name is Daniel Tryon. I serve as the administrator for Kettering Health Network Middletown. And I wanted to start by saying a real heartfelt thank you. I think a number of people have shared a lot of different perspectives and input on this issue over the last few months, and we appreciated that discussion. Really appreciate City Council's approach. I appreciate your willingness to hear different perspectives and to ask questions, and a lot of time that was spent on research. As Mike shared, healthcare is an incredibly complex and changing industry, and having local city leadership that is willing to become informed and supportive of that industry is incredibly important. We feel very grateful to be here in Middletown. We're appreciated the support of city staff and the City Planning Commission to get to this point this evening with what really is a very technical request. We're requesting a change from one sub-district to another, which when boiled down effectively means that patients can stay for longer than somewhat arbitrary 23 hours and 59 minutes. And for us, we are having this request on behalf of the 13,078 Middletown residents, about 26% of the Middletown community that selects Kettering Health Network for care, and in many cases are required to travel outside of their homes, outside of Middletown, to seek care at Kettering. For us, we're faced with either the option of expanding our capacity, one of our existing facilities, or trying to find a way to keep patients and their families as close to home as possible. Just to give you a little bit of an example, over the last couple of weeks, anywhere from 13 to about 20 Middletown residents have been in one of our Kettering hospitals on an inpatient stay. And the vast majority of those patients would have been able to stay here in Middletown to complete their care. So for us, we believe this is something that allows us to provide better care for our patients, to keep our patients closer to home. And we believe that as a whole, it's a big support and would be a positive benefit to the community. We as a family, the Kettering Health Network family is committed to investing in and supporting the communities that our patients live in. And we are committed to leaving the community in the same healthier than when we found it. And I know each of you are called to care and called to leave this community better than you found it. And on behalf of the network, we want to thank you for that. And from our perspective tonight, we would very much appreciate and would be honored by your vote in support of this request. And we really appreciate your time and consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next card I have this evening is from Mr. Charles Coakley. Apologize for that. I did get my eyes checked, by the way. So. This is monovision,
Right
doing
here.
monovision,
Oh,
so
okay.
I can't read or I can't see far away, so it's kind of unique. Good evening.
Thanks for having me up here.
Forget your name and address for the record, please.
Oh. Charles Coakley,
Coakley,
3403
okay.
Hampton Place, Middletown.
Thank you.
I'm not here on behalf of either hospital. I do apologize if I'm interrupting anything.
Nope.
But just come to you as a citizen and as a homeowner in Middletown. My wife and I moved here approximately about 4 years ago and recently purchased a home, primarily because of its great logistical location. As far as Cincinnati, Dayton, family, friends, we just found it to be a great area. After living here for a little while, come to learn some things. That's why I stand before you today. As a homeowner, we make a lot of attempts to promote our city and to show that we're proud to live in Middletown. Even people who lived here as kids, like Amy, and left and came back, has enough pride to try to rebuild the city to what it was once before. Based on my readings in the past, not to say that it's not a great city now, that's why I continue to live here. There's a lot of potential in this city though. And as they are arguing, they see a lot of potential too. However, as a homeowner who does pay his property taxes, like the other 52% of the population, since there is a 52% homeowner rate within Middletown, which could be considered low or high depending upon your perspective. We're discouraged and often ashamed when we see Middletown in the news so often regarding, I'm sure you guys are aware, crime, drugs, et cetera, et cetera. Low school ratings, different suits. So while we see the efforts from some like the police department, city development, and the great company that I just heard about, CBI, and local business owners like Mr. Bohannon, to improve the quality of living in Middletown, we as homeowners and taxpayers are still dealing with 24% poverty rate, break-ins, having to defend our choice of living in Middletown to friends and family, not to include bad streets, et cetera, et cetera. So homeowners who pay their property taxes are having to flip the bill for not only rate hikes, which we're talking about water bills, even though it's minimal, but more and more keeps coming to those who help support this city by being homeowners and paying property taxes. New football and track fields, not to say that's a bad thing. Every kid deserves the opportunity to play on a new field. However, if the people that are helping support the city and the problems that have been created but not resolved, like some of the things I discussed a couple moments ago, and it just provides a crutch for those who choose not to work and be dependent on government subsidies. We as homeowners and taxpayers feel like that we're being taken advantage of. So my question to the city would be is, what steps are you taking to help those who are helping you? And like Amy, coming back to the city of Middletown to try to revive the city. As I'm sure all of you have, I've read good things about all of you, but I've also read some bad things. I'm not sure how many citizens are in it that live in Middletown are here tonight, but I would have a strong feeling that a lot of them would have to agree with me. So with that being said, I have stats to back what I said tonight if anybody wants to see it, but I'd love to be a bigger part of what the city's doing to sort of rebound and bring it back to what it was. Okay. For that, I thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate you coming out this evening. All right, the last card I have this evening is from Mr. Rocky Sexton. Mr. Sexton?
Follow that guy's speech.
Good evening. If we get your name and address for the record, please.
Rocky Sexton, 215 Charles Street.
Good evening.
First and foremost, I'd like to thank you guys for your job. And actually, I know it ain't an easy job, making tough decisions. And I also see the place is packed with all sorts of Kettering and Atria employees, and hopefully the city can work out some kind of deal. Our city needs more options and better health care providers for our citizens. And for that, I thank you guys for choosing Middletown. But back to my original thing coming in. I know this isn't a setup for a question and answer scenario. But the tax-paying citizens of town have deep concerns with our issues that the city is having with the EPA and the city sewers. Our water sewage was just raised 10% last year, or within the last few years, and here we are voting on another 15% hike. As a homeowner and a business owner myself, I'm double dipping, paying two different bills, and it just continues to keep going up. A lot of hardworking folks in our town barely get by now, struggling to pay their bills. Think of the elderly or some people on disability that live on a fixed income that can barely get by. Having the taxpayers of our town to pay for the city's neglect to address and fix a sewage issue that don't seem fair, considering no one pays our fines, taxes, or the rest of us. It seems like it's going to be an ongoing problem, continued, if we just keep paying fines instead of fixing the problem. Last but not least, where's the accountability for that issue? You know, who besides the taxpayers is being punished for poor decisions? Hopefully the council can pull together and find a better option or a plan. I know this is a difficult decision, but there's got to be something.
Thanks for coming down this evening. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. That concludes citizen comment cards I have this evening. Brings us to our consent agenda. Ms. Skank?
For your consideration this evening, we have the approval of the State of the City minutes from November 1st, 2018, to confirm the personnel appointments of Holly Schulteis to the position of Executive Assistant for the City Manager and Amanda Miller to the position of Administrative Assistant in the Department of Public Safety, Division of Police. To receive and file oaths of office for Jace Barker, Crystal Combs, and Tyler Knopf. To receive and file the maintenance and performance bonds submitted by Grand Communities, LLC, for the public improvements in Renaissance 2, Section 10, and accept the resignations of Fred Sauer and Mike Taylor from the Historic Commission.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a motion for the approval of the issues and actions listed on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Ms. Skank, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bohannon?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori? Yes.
All right, that brings us to council comments. Start this evening with Mr. Mulligan.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have no comments tonight.
Mr. Bohannon?
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to thank all of you for coming out tonight. I'm sure there's going to be a loser, there's going to be a winner tonight. I don't know how the outcome is going to come. We have not discussed it amongst ourselves. But, you know, it is a zoning issue, and I think we've all taken it to heart. You're all, both of your sides. So good luck to both of you. Also, I'd like to pass on my condolences to the police department of Coleraine. They lost an officer last night after being hit by a car during a traffic issue. So pass on my condolences there as well. So other than that, thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Vettori?
Also would like to wish everyone a happy new year. I also would like to thank everyone here. The Atrium and Kettering folks have been so passionate and committed, and I think that's really the great sign for all of us. And I hope we can all come out winners. I think that regardless of the circumstance, we all are in this together. We're here for a reason. I think, like Daniel said, we have the same values. We're looking for the same outcomes. And I'm hopeful that regardless of who technically wins or loses tonight, that we can all really move forward and keep finding progress from the citizens of Middletown, because that's why we're here. Gosh, there's so much to do tonight. I had so much to say, I'll cut it down. I also wanted to thank all of our cat and animal friends. I was not here at the last meeting, but I watched it on my vacation. I got lots of emails. I'm glad the legislation was pulled, and I would actually like to formally request that a task force be put together that we can engage with some of our citizen stakeholders who have been filling the gap for 10 years, taking care of a lot of these animals, and find a way that we can collaborate. We have to have rules and processes. Yes, there has to be some punitive involvement when things don't go the way they should, but I think that the legislation could start with a different spirit. And so I would be happy to sit on that committee, and I'd like to get, you know, the police and animal control, whoever else is necessary, and try to really formulate some legislation that we can all get behind. DORA did start. I think it's off to a great start. A lot of people don't understand it. We'll be getting more information out, but the dollar for the bracelet, which is all you pay once, is really to go to marketing efforts so that people understand the DORA, including new businesses who historically have joined and had no idea how it even worked, up to and including marketing materials in the businesses so people understand it. So that's really where that money is going to go down the road. And if it really makes a ton of money, then it goes to beautification and other great things. So it all goes back into the community. I'd like to say I obviously support CBI, and that those decisions in terms of funding, I hope, can be reconsidered by my peers. And I guess that's it for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor Moon?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor. I'll address the zoning issue when we get there.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to comment, certainly appreciate folks coming out, talk about the rate increases. This has been certainly a topic that I've included in the last 2 or 3 of my State of the City addresses. So it doesn't come as a surprise to us, but it's always a shock when you get the bill sometimes. Certainly share your concerns over the rates that we pay. And those do cover across the board. Those are all for all users, both commercial and residential. And it's, believe me, we'd love to have some different solutions and less costly solutions. And really, I think we've really landed at the least cost alternative for that. And it's still a big number. It's $200+ million over the next 25 years. Hopefully, we'll be able to see some positive improvements with that. It won't just be the underground stuff. It really isn't. Some deferred maintenance, I think. I mean, we certainly went sideways with the recession and the impact that had in terms of what the city could do. But both our enterprise funds, both water and sewer, have been supported by ratepayers. We're in the fortunate position, like it or not, of being in the bottom third of overall rates in the the Dayton Oakwood survey, which is essentially most of Southwest Ohio. So we are attractive in terms of our rates compared to other rates. It's always a surprise when you see that increase, and I don't like it either. But it's part of just the nature of it. But certainly look to follow up with both the speakers this evening, and certainly appreciate you coming down to express your concern. And on the Kettering and Atrium issue, again, I'd like to express my thanks and appreciation. I've had meetings with both companies, both providers. Both are very committed to Middletown, and certainly appreciate their interest and support and dedication to it. It's certainly been a tough decision to evaluate it. I think we want to really look at what's best for the city overall, and I think that's what council will be weighing in terms of all the input and certainly all the detail Planning Commission went through. I had the benefit of sitting through the public hearing at Planning Commission, so I think I've had a fair amount of exposure to it, so certainly appreciate everyone's participation in the process and support of it. So, and with that, we can move to our legislation this evening.
Good evening.
Fox.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. There are 5 items of legislation on the agenda for this evening, 3 of which are second readings and will require 3 affirmative votes for passage, 1 of which is an emergency and we will require a motion for waiver of charter provisions requiring a reading on 2 separate occasions. And the ordinance up for emergency passage this evening is ordinance number O-2019-1.
I move to waive the charter provision requiring a reading on 2 separate days for the previously read ordinance and to declare an emergency measure to be read one time only.
So moved.
Ms. Gank, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan?
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Ordinance number O-2018-87, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing a contract with Pathmaster Incorporated for the purchase of Centrax traffic management software. This is the second reading and is ready for action this evening.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Any other discussion or comments? And we had a presentation on this last time. Okay. Mr. Atkins, nothing?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Gank, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Ordinance number O-2018-88, an ordinance amending section 1040.03 of the codified ordinances levying and assessing sewer rates. This is a second reading and is ready for action.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Yeah, I know we had a presentation on this before. Mr. Atkins, anything else to add?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Any other questions or comments?
I just have one more comment, Your Honor, to yours. Addressing the gentleman, I agree that, looking at these percentage increases, it's never a delight to pay increased water and sewer charges. But we're living in the reality of decisions made 20 and 30 years ago about the city expanding geographically and population-wise, and also during a period, several years, where there were no increases in rates. And so we're just trying to get caught up and also in compliance with the EPA mandate and that consent decree. So certainly it's with no pleasure that we increase water and sewer rates, but it's just a necessary evil. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kank, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Mulligan,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Ordinance number O 2018-89, an ordinance changing the zoning classification for two parcels. One parcel located at the 3400 block of Union Road, and one parcel located at 6147 West State Route 122 to a BCO, which is a business center office. This is the second reading and is ready for action this evening.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second. Okay, any discussion or comments? I wanted to address this, and I want to echo everybody else's comments. We appreciate everybody's thoughts, their time in educating us. I firmly believe government works best when we have an engaged and educated citizenry, and as Mike said, this hasn't been easy. But as I've worked through this request and the process that goes along with it, I've routinely come back to two main points that have informed my decision. The first and fundamental question of any rezoning request is, does this request meet the review criteria as outlined in the Middletown Development Code? In this case, I believe it does. Secondly, does the net effect of this change add to or subtract from our comprehensive health care options provided to Middletown residents? As was discussed at the Planning Commission meeting, Kettering Health Network accepts a number of ACA plans that currently Atrium does not. To me, it's important that people on those plans have local options for their health care needs, and approving this request would give them that option. Any other comments or thoughts? Okay, this was the subject of our public hearing and much discussion. Mr. Atkins, anything else from staff?
No, nothing further.
Okay, all right. Ms. Kank, would you call the roll, please?
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
On advice of council, I'm going to abstain.
Mayor Mulligan,
Yes. Motion carries then, so that is approved.
Ordinance number O 2019-01, an ordinance amending the pay and benefits ordinance for the Department of Health and Environment, ordinance number O 2018-31-83, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, do we have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second?
Okay,
Yeah.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes, Your Honors, we were putting the pay and benefits ordinance together for the Health Department. There was a clerical error that put in the incorrect salary range for the Director of Environmental Health. The correct ranges were in the annual budget, but we had a typo in this. We'd like to get it corrected by emergency tonight so that we start the year off with the correct numbers.
Very good. Any questions or comments? Okay. Ms. Kank, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bohannon,
Yes.
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
Last up is ordinance number O 2019-02, an ordinance establishing a procedure for and authorizing an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Dayton. This is a first reading this evening.
Mr. Atkins?
Yes, Your Honor. Back in 2013, we entered an agreement with the city of Dayton whereby we produced lime sludge at our water treatment plant. They took that sludge back, they dried it out, and then basically sold it back to us as lime. It's worked well for both of us. It's saved us money. It's worked well for them. That contract is up now. We've made revisions to the existing agreement because we're now treating more water than we were before. But it's been a good deal for both cities, and we are recommending that we renew that contract.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Mr. Atkins? Okay, thank you. And our last item, well, second last item is executive session. So I need a motion of the authority of Ohio Revised Code 121.22G1 to consider the appointment of a public employee or official.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, Ms. Kank, would you call the roll?
Mr. Moon,
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan,
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon,
Yes.
Ms. Vettori,
Yes.
All right, following our executive session, we'll be reconvening to make some appointments to our board and commission members, and after that, we'll be recessed until January 22nd, 2019 in these chambers. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Good to go? All right.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting back to order and entertain a motion to come out of executive session at 7:03.
So moved.
Second?
Ms. Gank, would you call the roll?
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
Mayor Mulligan?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
All right, we have one motion item to consider regarding the appointment boards and commissions.
To confirm the appointment of Gary Gross and David McCauley Myers to the Planning Commission.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve the motion item?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, any other discussion or comments? Ms. Gank, would you call the roll, please?
Mayor Mulligan?
Yes.
Ms. Vettori?
Yes.
Mr. Bohannon?
Yes.
Mr. Moon?
Yes.
Mr. Mulligan?
Yes.
All right, we'll be in recess until January 22nd, 2019, these chambers. Thank you all. Have a good Martin Luther King's Day, too.